Professor Sarah Chen arrived at the International Earth Studies Center 3 hours before sunrise, her excitement making sleep impossible. The magnificent glass building reflected the first hints of dawn, its advanced solar panels adjusting themselves to capture every bit of morning light. She placed her palm against the biometric scanner, and the laboratory doors whispered open with a gentle hum. The classroom sparkled with fresh possibilities. Holographic displays floated at perfect intervals, each one cycling through welcome messages in 20 different galactic languages. The ancient Greek phrase, "Know thyself," transformed into flowing Centaurian-like scripts, then shifted into the crystalline patterns of Andromeda's primary diplomatic language. Sarah walked to the windows, pressing her hand against the environmental control panel. The advanced glass panels adjusted their transparency, allowing the perfect amount of natural light to fill the room. Outside, a family of rainbow lorikeets had made their home in the towering eucalyptus trees, their morning chatter providing Earth's own welcome message to the incoming alien students. "Morning, Professor Chen." The building's AI greeted her. "Would you like me to activate the atmospheric adjustments for our interstellar guests?" "Yes, please," Sarah replied, watching as subtle vents opened along the walls. The room would now automatically maintain various environmental bubbles, allowing species from water worlds to study alongside crystalline beings who required different atmospheric pressures. It had taken Earth scientists decades to perfect this technology, but it was worth every moment of research. She adjusted her translator pin, a small device that would allow real-time communication with all her students. The precious metal felt cool against her fingertips, its surface engraved with the symbols of every participating galactic nation. This wasn't just a teaching accessory. It was a symbol of how far humanity had come. The morning sun painted golden streaks across her desk as Sarah arranged her teaching materials. Physical books, a rarity in most advanced civilizations, sat proudly alongside quantum tablets and holographic study aids. She had carefully chosen each item to demonstrate humanity's unique blend of tradition and innovation. A soft chime indicated an incoming message on her computer. The Galactic Education Council had sent their final approval for today's lesson plan. Sarah smiled as she read their additional note. "Remember, Professor Chen, many of these students have never experienced an uncontrolled natural environment. Proceed with appropriate caution." She glanced at the small terrarium near her desk, where a green tree frog dozed on a leaf. The council would probably have recommended removing such wildlife displays, but Sarah knew better. Earth's greatest strength lay in its natural wonder, in the delicate balance between civilization and nature that humanity had learned to maintain. The sun climbed higher, and the first human students began arriving on campus. Sarah watched through her window as they strolled across the grounds, casually stepping around the brush turkeys that wandered the paths. These students would play a crucial role in helping their alien classmates adapt to Earth's environment. "Professor," the AI interrupted her thoughts. "The first transport pods are entering Earth's atmosphere. Estimated arrival time, 45 minutes. Sarah straightened her collar and checked her reflection in the window. Her dark eyes sparkled with anticipation, and she had tied her silver-streaked hair back in a neat bun. She looked every bit the distinguished Earth professor the council had selected for this groundbreaking program. The lorikeets outside burst into another chorus of morning calls, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of eucalyptus through the building's ventilation system. In less than an hour, students from across the galaxy would experience these sensations for the first time. Some would be terrified, others fascinated, but all of them would leave this classroom with a new understanding of humanity's home. Sarah Chen smiled, ready to begin the most important teaching day of her life. Earth's wildlife might seem overwhelming to their galactic visitors, but she knew that sometimes the best lessons came from unexpected encounters. She just hoped her students were ready for the adventure that awaited them. The first transport pod descended with the grace of a soap bubble, its iridescent surface reflecting the morning sunlight. Inside, Blip adjusted their light frequency sensors, trying to process the overwhelming amount of organic matter their scans detected. The pod's navigation system guided them to a designated landing pad outside the International Earth Studies Center, where 5 other pods had already arrived. Professor Chen watched through her classroom window as the newly arrived students emerged from their protective vessels. Blip's form rippled like the surface of a pond in the sunlight, their body composed entirely of carefully controlled light waves. Next to them, a crystalline student named Aurora unfolded themselves from their transport pod, their faceted surface creating tiny rainbows on the ground. "Welcome to Earth," the building's AI greeted them in standard galactic common. "Please proceed to the main entrance. Your environmental shields have been calibrated to local conditions." The human students, already settled in their seats, pressed against the windows in fascination. They had seen images of alien species before, but nothing compared to watching their new classmates navigate Earth's environment for the first time. Tom, a second-year biology student, quickly pulled out his quantum notebook, eager to document this historic moment. The ladybug chose that exact moment to land on Blip's sensor array. The light-based student froze, their form shifting through a spectacular range of colors, from soft gold to deep purple to brilliant blue. The tiny insect's presence triggered an automatic analysis sequence, and Blip's translated voice emerged from their communication device in a mix of wonder and uncertainty. "Professor Chen," they called out, their voice carrying a musical quality. "My sensors detect an autonomous organic entity making contact with my outer membrane. The database identifies it as a coccinellidae. Should I initiate emergency protocols?" Sarah Chen smiled warmly, approaching the entrance. "That's perfectly normal, Blip. Ladybugs are completely harmless. In fact, they're considered good luck by many Earth cultures." Aurora, the crystalline student, produced a soft chiming sound that their translator rendered as laughter. "Blip, your color changes are interfering with my light refraction patterns. You look like a quantum aurora." The human students joined in the laughter, but kindly. Jessica, a girl from Brisbane, pulled up a holographic display of various beneficial Earth insects, projecting it where the alien students could easily see it. "These are just some of our helpful garden friends," she explained, her voice warm and encouraging. As the alien students made their way into the classroom, each one encountered new sensations. Equot X, a student from an ocean world, marveled at their environmental bubble's ability to maintain proper humidity while allowing them to experience Earth's atmosphere. Binary, a student composed of living data streams, kept adjusting their processing speed to account for the organic particles in the air. Professor Chen waited until everyone had found their places before beginning the class. The room's environmental systems hummed softly, creating perfect conditions for each species. Through the windows, the eucalyptus trees swayed in the morning breeze, and a pair of magpies warbled their morning song. "Today," Sarah began, her translator pin ensuring every student could understand her words, "we start our journey of understanding Earth's unique ecosystem. Our planet might seem chaotic compared to your carefully controlled worlds, but there's a beautiful balance in what appears to be disorder." She gestured to the window, where the ladybug had now taken flight, its tiny wings carrying it back to the garden. Blip watched it go, their light patterns finally settling into a calm blue glow. The other alien students focused their various sensory organs on the holographic display now floating in the center of the room, showing Earth's wide variety of natural environments. Aurora raised a crystalline appendage, their surface catching the sunlight. "Professor, my cultural database suggests that Earth is one of the few inhabited planets that maintains large areas of uncontrolled biological growth. How do humans manage to function in such an unpredictable environment?" Sarah's smile widened. This was exactly the kind of question she had hoped for. Little did her students know that their greatest lesson in Earth's wildlife was about to arrive through the window, in the form of a curious carpet python, seeking a warm place to rest. Professor Chen activated the central holographic display, bringing up a three-dimensional map of Earth's various biomes. The alien students watched in fascination as miniature representations of rainforests, deserts, and oceans floated before them, each containing detailed animations of local wildlife. Aurora's crystalline surface reflected the images, creating a dazzling light show on the classroom walls. Australia, where we are now, Sarah explained, zooming in on their location, is home to some of Earth's most unique wildlife. Our isolation as a continent has led to the evolution of species found nowhere else on the planet. As if on cue, a young carpet python silently slid through the open window. The morning sun had warmed the windowsill to a perfect basking temperature, and the python, likely a resident of the university's gardens, had decided this would make an excellent resting spot. Its scales gleamed with subtle patterns of brown and gold as it moved with fluid grace across the sunlit surface. The human students barely registered the python's entrance. Emma, absorbed in taking notes on her quantum tablet, merely shifted her bag to give the snake more space. Tom glanced up briefly, then returned to his detailed sketches of Aurora's crystalline structure, which the alien student had proudly permitted him to document. The python, about a meter long and as thick as a garden hose, moved with gentle purpose toward the decorative rock garden in the corner of the classroom. Professor Chen had installed this feature to demonstrate Earth's geological diversity, but it had also become a favorite spot for local wildlife seeking warmth. The snake settled itself comfortably among the rocks, its scales perfectly complementing the earthy tones of the stones. The relationship between humans and wildlife, Sarah continued, unaware of their new guest, varies greatly depending on cultural and geographical factors. In many urban areas, we've learned to coexist with various species that have adapted to human presence. Blip, their light form flickering with interest, raised an appendage. Query: how do humans maintain safety protocols with uncontrolled organic entities in their education spaces? Before Sarah could answer, Jessica spoke up from her seat near the window. We learn about local wildlife from a young age, she explained, her voice carrying the casual confidence of someone who had grown up in Brisbane's wildlife-rich suburbs. Most animals aren't interested in humans, and we know how to respect their space. The python flicked its tongue, tasting the exotic array of scents in the classroom. The environmental bubbles surrounding the alien students created interesting air currents, carrying molecules the snake had never encountered before. It lifted its head slightly, curious but completely relaxed. Sarah noticed the python's presence now but continued her lecture without missing a beat. She had taught in Australian universities long enough to know that carpet pythons were harmless residents of the campus grounds. In fact, they helped keep the local rodent population in check, making them valuable members of the urban ecosystem. Earth's wildlife, she continued, bringing up new holographic images, has developed alongside humans for thousands of years. While we've certainly impacted their habitats, many species have shown remarkable adaptability. The morning sun climbed higher, casting warm patches of light across the classroom floor. The python shifted slightly, finding the perfect basking position among the rocks. Its presence created an unplanned but perfect illustration of the very principles Professor Chen was discussing: the casual coexistence of humans and wildlife. Binary, the data stream student, had been running continuous environmental scans, as was their species' habit. Their sensors had detected the python's heat signature, but they had classified it as non-threatening based on the human student's calm reactions. They made a note in their personal database about Earth species behavioral patterns. What none of them realized was that this peaceful scene was about to transform into one of the most memorable moments in galactic education history. The python's presence would soon trigger a chain reaction of events that would challenge everything the alien students thought they knew about living on a planet with uncontrolled wildlife. Starlight, the energy being from the Centauri system, noticed the python first. Their natural ambient glow, usually a soft blue resembling starlight on water, suddenly intensified to a brilliant azure. The change caught the attention of nearby students, creating a ripple effect of awareness through the classroom. Professor Chen, Starlight's translated voice wavered with uncertainty, their energy form pulsing with each word. My sensors indicate the presence of an unregistered elongated organic entity among the mineral display units. The python, still contentedly basking on its chosen rock, flicked its tongue lazily in response to the sudden increase in energy readings from starlight. The movement caught Aqua X's attention, causing the water-based student to rapidly analyze the situation through their protective bubble of liquid atmosphere. Environmental anomaly detected. Aqua X announced, their liquid form swirling into defensive patterns. Tiny droplets of their protective moisture sphere began forming intricate crystalline structures, creating a sparkly mist around their person. The effect would have been beautiful if it wasn't a sign of their rising stress levels. Binary, still processing data streams about Earth's wildlife from the earlier lecture, quickly accessed their stored information. Alert. Entity matches description of Earth subspecies serpents. Historical data indicates potential hazard classification ranging from minimal to severe. The human students watched in amazement as their alien classmates displayed increasingly elaborate defensive responses. Aurora, the crystalline being, began refracting light in complex patterns designed to confuse potential predators, turning their usually transparent form into a dazzling display of rainbow fragments. Emma, who had been quietly studying near the rock garden, finally looked up from her quantum tablet. "Oh, are you all interested in Sandy?" she asked casually, giving the python its impromptu nickname. "It likes to sunbathe here during morning lectures. The rocks retain heat really well." The casual nature of Emma's comment sent ripples of astonishment through the alien students. Blip's light form flickered so rapidly, it created a strobe effect, prompting Professor Chen to step in before the situation escalated further. "Class," Sarah said calmly, "this is an excellent opportunity to observe Earth's natural wildlife behavior. Notice how the python is completely relaxed, demonstrating no aggressive or defensive postures." But Stellar X, a gaseous student from the Orion cluster, had already initiated their species' panic response. Their usually cohesive gas form began separating into smaller clouds, a survival mechanism designed to confuse predators. The classroom's environmental systems worked overtime to contain the expanding gas formations within their designated space. Tom raised his hand, trying to suppress a smile. "Professor, maybe we could explain about carpet pythons. They're actually really helpful for the ecosystem." Before Sarah could respond, Aurora chimed in with rapidly calculated statistics. "My database indicates Earth contains approximately 3,000 species of serpentine life forms." Query: what percentage pose immediate threat to classroom occupants? The python, seemingly oblivious to the commotion it had caused, adjusted its position slightly to follow a patch of sunlight that had moved across the rocks. This small movement sent Aqua X into another defensive cycle, their protective moisture sphere now generating tiny whirlpools. Jessica, seeing an opportunity to help, activated her tablet's holographic display. "Look, I have some pictures of Sandy from last semester. It helped us by keeping the mouse population down near the quantum physics building." The alien students, their various defense mechanisms still engaged, gathered cautiously around Jessica's display. Even Blip, whose light form had finally settled into a nervous yellow glow, moved closer to see the images of the python peacefully coexisting with human students. Professor Chen watched the scene unfold, realizing that no lesson plan could have created such a perfect teaching moment. The stark contrast between the human students' casual acceptance and the alien students' elaborate defensive responses highlighted exactly why Earth's educational approach was unique in the galaxy. Tom stood up from his seat, his movements deliberately slow and gentle to avoid startling either the python or his alien classmates. The morning sunlight caught his easy smile as he adjusted his university jacket. "Would everyone like to learn about our local wildlife friend?" he asked, his voice carrying the calm confidence of someone who had grown up surrounded by Australia's unique creatures. Professor Chen nodded encouragingly, recognizing the perfect teaching opportunity. The alien students, still maintaining their various defensive positions, watched with a mixture of fascination and anxiety as Tom carefully approached the rock garden. Blip's light form shifted to a curious shade of mint green, their fear gradually giving way to scientific interest. "This is a carpet python," Tom explained, keeping a respectful distance from the basking snake. "They're actually quite shy and prefer to avoid interaction with larger creatures like us. See how it's just enjoying the warm rocks." He pointed out how the python's scales gleamed in the sunlight, its body relaxed and comfortable. Aurora's crystalline structure slowly settled back into its normal transparent state, though they maintained a safe distance of exactly 3.7 meters, their species' calculated minimum safe observation range. Query: what is the statistical likelihood of unprovoked aggressive behavior from this specimen? "Nearly zero," Emma chimed in, pulling up her research notes on her quantum tablet. "Carpet pythons are non-venomous and incredibly peaceful. They're actually protected by our wildlife laws because they're so beneficial to the ecosystem." Starlight's energy form pulsed with surprise. "Protected? You create legal safeguards for uncontrolled organic entities." Their aura flickered with rapid color changes as they processed this new information. Professor Chen seized the moment to expand the lesson. She activated the classroom's holographic system, bringing up a detailed three-dimensional image of the local ecosystem. The python, still contentedly basking on its rock, became part of a larger display showing the interconnected web of urban wildlife. "On Earth," Sarah explained, "we've learned that maintaining biodiversity is crucial for environmental stability. Each species, from the smallest insect to the largest predator, plays a vital role in the balance of nature." Aqua X's protective moisture sphere began to stabilize as they absorbed this information. Tiny ripples of curiosity replaced the defensive whirlpools in their liquid form. "In our ocean worlds, we create perfectly controlled artificial ecosystems. The concept of unmanaged wildlife is intriguing." The python flicked its tongue, sampling the array of exotic scents produced by the alien students' various environmental fields. This simple action, rather than causing panic as it had before, now drew interested observations from the class. Binary began recording detailed data about the snake's sensory gathering methods. Jessica, who had been quietly documenting the entire interaction, shared her screen with the class. "Look at these thermal images," she said, showing how the python's body temperature aligned perfectly with the warm rocks. "They're extremely energy-efficient creatures." The alien students gathered closer, their initial fear transforming into scientific curiosity. Even Stellar X's gaseous form had reintegrated into a more concentrated cloud, hovering near the display with obvious interest. The classroom's environmental systems hummed softly, maintaining perfect conditions for each species as they studied their unexpected teaching assistant. Tom continued his impromptu lesson, explaining how carpet pythons helped maintain the local rodent population and how they naturally avoided human contact. With each piece of information, the alien students' defensive responses diminished further, replaced by genuine fascination with Earth's unique approach to wildlife coexistence. "Perhaps," Aurora chimed thoughtfully, their crystalline surface refracting the morning light, "there is logic in Earth's seemingly chaotic natural systems that we had not previously considered." Professor Chen smiled, watching as her classroom transformed into exactly the kind of interstellar learning environment she had hoped to create. Sometimes the best lessons came from unexpected teachers, even if that teacher happened to be a carpet python taking its morning sunbath. Professor Chen's fingers danced across her teaching console, bringing to life a stunning holographic display that filled the center of the classroom. The projection showed Earth's evolution through time, from the earliest creatures to the present day. Above their heads, ancient marine life transformed into land animals, while dinosaurs gave way to mammals in a beautiful dance of natural selection. "What you're seeing," Sarah explained as the hologram settled on the present era, "is the result of billions of years of species learning to coexist. Humans didn't create this balance. We became part of it." Blip, their light form now stable with interest, raised an illuminated appendage. But Professor, our historical records indicate that advanced species must control their environments to achieve technological progress. How did humans advance while maintaining such biological diversity? The python, still contentedly sprawled across its chosen rocks, provided a perfect illustration for Sarah's response. "Look at our classroom visitor," she suggested, gesturing toward the peaceful reptile. "It's found a way to share this space with us, just as we found ways to share Earth with millions of other species." Emma activated her quantum tablet's scanning function, projecting a detailed analysis of the python's vital signs. "See these readings? Its heart rate is completely normal. It's not afraid of us, just as we're not afraid of it. That's what real coexistence looks like." The alien students gathered closer to examine Emma's data, their earlier panic forgotten in the face of scientific evidence. Aurora's crystalline form sparkled with revelation as they processed the information. This indicates a symbiotic relationship pattern we had not considered possible with uncontrolled organisms. Professor Chen expanded the holographic display to show various human cities around the world, each one highlighted with the wildlife that had adapted to urban environments. Humans learned early in our development that working with nature often produces better results than trying to control it completely. Starlight's energy form pulsed with curiosity as they watched birds nesting in skyscrapers and urban foxes navigating city parks. Query: does this adaptive capacity extend to all Earth species? "Not all," Tom replied, pulling up his own research notes. "But you'd be surprised how many animals have found ways to thrive alongside humans. Some species, like our friend here," he nodded toward the python, "actually help us by maintaining the natural balance." The classroom's environmental systems hummed softly as they adjusted to the alien students' gradually relaxing defensive mechanisms. Aqua X's protective moisture sphere had transformed from a barrier into a lens, magnifying their view of the python's scales as they studied its heat-efficient design. Binary, who had been quietly processing all the new data, projected their own holographic analysis. Correlating historical data with current observations suggests Earth's environmental approach has produced unexpected advantages in technological adaptation. "Exactly," Sarah smiled, expanding Binary's projection to show how human technology had often been inspired by natural systems. "Some of our most innovative solutions came from observing and learning from nature, not trying to control it." The python chose this moment to elegantly slide into a new position, following the warmth of the sun as it moved across the rocks. This time, instead of panic, the movement generated intense scientific interest among the alien students. Stellar X even produced a series of specialized gas sensors to analyze the snake's efficient locomotion method. Jessica, who had been documenting the entire interaction, shared her observations with the class. "Notice how it moves. Engineers have studied that motion to design better robots and exploration vehicles. Nature often has elegant solutions to complex problems." Professor Chen watched with pride as her classroom transformed into exactly the kind of collaborative learning environment she had envisioned. The fear that had initially gripped her alien students had evolved into something far more valuable: genuine curiosity and respect for Earth's unique approach to progress. "Perhaps," Blip suggested, their light form glowing with newfound understanding, "the true mark of an advanced civilization isn't how much it can control its environment, but how well it can adapt to working within natural systems." The python, unwitting catalyst of this breakthrough in interstellar education, continued its peaceful basking, proving with every relaxed movement that sometimes the best teachers don't need to say a word. The afternoon sun painted golden streaks across the classroom as Binary finished uploading their recorded data to the Galactic Educational Network. Their living data streams pulsed with excitement as they added the final tags. #EarthWildlife, #Interspecies Learning, #Unexpectedteacher. Processing complete, Binary announced, their translated voice carrying a note of pride. The morning's events have been documented with full sensory data from multiple species perspectives. The classroom's quantum communications array hummed to life as the first responses began streaming in from academic institutions across the galaxy. Holographic notifications sparkled in the air, each one representing a different world's reaction to the unprecedented classroom encounter. Fascinating, Aurora chimed, their crystalline form refracting the incoming message lights. The Centauri Science Academy has already requested additional data about Earth's educational approach to wildlife interaction. Professor Chen watched as her students' documentation spread through the galactic academic community. The initial responses ranged from disbelief to intense curiosity. The Rigel Institute of Advanced Studies had immediately scheduled an emergency symposium to discuss the implications of Earth's unique approach to environmental education. Jessica pulled up her social media feed, where her carefully captured images of the peaceful python had gone viral across multiple planetary networks. "Look at these comments," she said, projecting the feed for everyone to see. "Scientists from the Andromeda Environmental Council want to know more about how we develop comfort with wildlife from an early age." Blip, who had maintained their observations throughout the day, contributed their own light spectrum analysis to the growing database. Their recordings showed the gradual shift in the class's emotional responses, from initial fear to curiosity to acceptance, all documented in precise wavelengths of light. The Orion Educational Collective suggests this might revolutionize their approach to biological studies. Starlight noted, their energy form pulsing with excitement as they read the incoming messages. They'd never considered that allowing controlled wildlife encounters might enhance student understanding. Tom's detailed sketches of the python's behavior patterns had caught the attention of the Galactic Biology Institute. His simple yet accurate observations provided valuable context for species that had never experienced uncontrolled wildlife. "They want to know if we can set up regular observation sessions," he said, reading their enthusiastic response. Aquarex, their liquid form now completely calm, had compiled a comparative analysis between Earth's ecosystem management and their homeworld's controlled environments. "My people are particularly interested in how this natural balance might be applied to our ocean cities," they rippled thoughtfully. The python, still contentedly basking in its sunny spot, had become the most famous reptile in the galaxy. Its peaceful presence in an academic setting challenged countless preconceptions about wildlife interaction. Stellar X's gaseous form swirled with amusement as they read comments from their home world expressing disbelief at their proximity to an uncontrolled organic entity. Professor Chen's inbox chimed with message after message from academic institutions across known space. The Galactic Education Board had upgraded the incident from a potential crisis to a groundbreaking case study in interspecies education. They were already discussing implementing similar wildlife interaction programs on other worlds, with appropriate safety measures. "Perhaps," Emma suggested, checking her own messages, "we could start a regular series of wildlife interaction sessions, show how different Earth species naturally share spaces with humans." The idea sparked immediate interest. Binary quickly calculated potential engagement metrics, their data streams forming complex patterns of possibility. Projected educational impact suggests this could fundamentally alter galactic perspectives on environmental management. Aurora's crystalline surface caught the late afternoon light as they added their own analysis. The statistical implications for improved interspecies understanding are significant. This single encounter has generated more real-world data than 1,000 simulated scenarios. Sarah Chen smiled as she watched her classroom's unexpected adventure transform into a galaxy-wide teaching moment. The simple presence of a sunbathing python had done more to bridge the gap between Earth and alien perspectives than years of formal diplomatic efforts. 3 weeks after the python incident, Professor Chen's classroom had transformed into something unprecedented in galactic education. The morning sun streamed through windows that now featured small gardens where local birds nested, their songs creating a natural symphony that even the alien students had grown to appreciate. Starlight hovered near their usual study spot, their energy form no longer flickering in alarm when a magpie landed on the nearby windowsill. Instead, they adjusted their sensors to record the bird's morning ritual, adding to their growing database of Earth wildlife behaviors. Fascinating how they maintain the same territorial boundaries day after day. They observed their glow a peaceful shade of azure. The rock garden, now famous across the galaxy as Sandy Spot, had become a popular observation area. While the original Python only visited occasionally, the alien students had developed a remarkable interest in studying all of Earth's scaled visitors. Aurora had even created a crystalline documentation system that captured and archived every wildlife encounter. Professor Blip called out, their light form shimmering with excitement. My latest analysis suggests that regular exposure to Earth's wildlife has improved our species' adaptation capabilities by 43%. Their form shifted through gentle rainbow patterns, a far cry from the panic-induced strobing of their first snake encounter. Binary, who had been processing the accumulated data, projected a holographic chart showing the class's progress. Initial fear responses have decreased by 97%. While scientific observation qualities have increased exponentially. Their data streams formed complex patterns of pride and accomplishment. Emma and Tom had become unofficial wildlife guides for their alien classmates, helping them understand the different creatures that made the university grounds their home. Today, Emma was explaining the concept of bird watching to Aquarex, whose liquid form rippled with interest as they tracked a rainbow lorikeet through their specialized viewing sphere. The Galactic Education Board has officially recognized our classroom as a pilot program, Professor Chen announced, bringing up the official notification on the main display. They're implementing similar wildlife interaction courses on 12 other worlds, though with species native to each planet. Jessica pulled up her latest social media analytics, showing how their classroom story had inspired changes across the galaxy. Look at this, she said, projecting the feed. The Centauri Science Academy has started allowing small indigenous creatures into their biodomes. They're calling it the Earth approach to environmental education. Stellar X, their gaseous form now stable enough to maintain complex shapes, had created a specialized environmental monitoring system. The presence of organic life forms has not compromised our learning environment, they reported proudly. If anything, it has enhanced our understanding of complex ecological systems. The classroom's success had sparked a revolution in interstellar education. What began as a frightening encounter with a carpet python had evolved into a deeper appreciation for Earth's approach to coexisting with nature. Even the most strictly controlled worlds were beginning to question their complete separation from their local wildlife. Next week, Sarah announced to her class, we'll be hosting a delegation from the Andromeda Environmental Council. They're interested in seeing how we've integrated wildlife interaction into our daily lessons. She smiled as she watched a small skink dart across the classroom floor, none of her alien students showing the slightest sign of distress. Aurora chimed thoughtfully, their crystalline surface catching the morning light. When we first arrived, we thought Earth's uncontrolled wildlife made it primitive. Now we understand it's a sign of advanced ecological harmony. The python that had started it all still visited occasionally, and each appearance was celebrated as a reminder of how far it had come. Its presence no longer triggered emergency protocols or defensive responses. Instead, it was greeted with scientific interest and respect, a living symbol of Earth's unique contribution to galactic education. As the morning lesson began, Professor Chen looked around her classroom with pride. Humans and aliens working together, learning not just about each other, but from the world around them. A butterfly drifted through the air, causing Blip to shift their light patterns to mirror its colors. In the corner, Binary documented everything, their living data streams weaving together the story of how a simple snake had changed galactic education forever.